So, welcome to the session 3. Thanks, Pedro. Just one thing before Pedro starts. Today, some people requested to attend the session, even if they didn't participate in session 1 and 2. So we're going to have perhaps new faces or new names here, and they're welcome. What we did also for the people that attended in the previous session and the ones that perhaps didn't attend, we have on YouTube, and I'll share that during the call, the links to the first 2 sessions. So if you want to recap a little bit what we said during the 2 sessions, you can go there. Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here with us today. And I'm going to pass on to our host today that's going to introduce the session, Pedro. Pedro, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So welcome to session 3. Here we go. So what we have for today? Well, it's really simple. We have a little bit of an overview of the landscape of crypto with a couple of projects. And we have 2 very distinguished guests. One of them you already know, Adam, all the way in from Singapore. He's going to tell us a little bit about the Subex project as a project. So if you remember, Adam was in the first session to tell us a little bit about the blockchain from the technical perspective and the use case perspective as well. Today he's going to give us a real life example of what a crypto project is or what it can be, and with the Subex itself. And we have another very distinguished guest for the day, which is Pedro Febrero, which has done a very successful ICO 2 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong. Week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. 2 weeks. That's it. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his project. He's one of the national crypto authorities with a couple of papers published. He also has a very interesting podcast that you can hook onto, really interesting content. And without further ado, here we go for a very practical and hands-on session. So what happened previously on Crypto Thursdays? If you remember, we've started on the first session by the foundation or one of the very important foundations of all of this, which is no more, no less than the blockchain itself and what it allows us to do. On session 2, we talked a little bit about Bitcoin, Ethereum, smart contracts, and stable coins as well. So these are interesting applications of blockchain and the whole new paradigm which is shaping up. And today we have the landscape or the ecosystem, if you will. As mentioned, we're going to have Pedro with a real fever. So that's the token that you can see on the left-hand part of your screen in the bottom. We've got Adam, which will tell us about Subex, that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen at the bottom. And we've just picked randomly 3 projects that we believe sort of exemplify what this can be and what this is all about in 3 very particular segments. There are plenty more. The ones we've chosen are basically gaming, social networks, and DeFi, or decentralized finance, if you will. So it's a very hands-on type of session. Get your questions ready for the chat, or simply unmute yourselves and speak, or shut up forever, like they used to say on certain occasions. And here we go. And we start with George and a couple of projects in these 3 verticals. George, the floor is yours. George?
George, tower control here. Do you hear us? Do you hear us?
We know that George is traveling and has just taken a stop in his journey. Maybe internet is not the best over where he is, but I see that he's connecting now.
Yeah, he's on board. Let's see.
Guys, can you hear me?
Now we can. The
Yeah.
floor is yours, George.
Sorry, I was trying to join by phone because the internet to me. So if at any point you lose me, just tell me and I'll repeat what I tried to say. So basically, as Pedro was saying, the idea here was to choose some sectors that we believed were interesting and where some innovations have been happening with the use of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. And the sectors that we chose were video games and streaming, social networks, and decentralized finance. In here, this was not fully random, but please don't associate this as any advice. These are just some examples that in my own research, they come up as interesting projects. So starting on the video games and streaming, we had GMR that basically they built a decentralized gaming community ecosystem. What do they have? They use cryptocurrency to power a whole network of gamers, content creators, and direct sellers like gaming developers, accessories developers, etc., in a single community powered by the token that they have created. And this allows them to have a huge control and on being able to sell a part of the ecosystem to all the community participants who also get a vote on how the things are managed. For all this, we have some more detail in their own website. So if you have any questions on these, write them on the chat and we'll try to clarify and go a little deeper. The objective in this slide is not to really go very deep on each of these projects. The second one is actually being one that's causing some controversy in the US at the moment on both sides of the aisle. Why? They are building a decentralized social platform with their biggest, I would say, their biggest marketing have been so far that there will be no limits on speech in that platform by default. As we have talked in the previous session with the sessions, with the use of smart contracts, we are able to create processes that are not changeable by any entity. And in this, what they are trying to create is a process that would be impossible for anyone but yourself with access to your wallet to change, erase, or modify anything that you wrote. And this being associated with the Ethereum block in this project, but it needs to be an alteration of the all black blockchain as we explained in session 1 and 2. The other two things that they offer is direct content monetization. They will not be an intermediary like Facebook. They are the platform, but as soon as you have your account, every view, every like, every share, according to the predefined procedures that they have, and that can be changed by the community, will earn money to the content creators. And then lastly, we have decentralized finance. This is an industry that barely existed a year ago. So this is the newest of the three topics we bring here. And basically the centralized finance is the change and the proceeding of financial transactions without the existence of a financial intermediary. And in this case, we have PancakeSwap, that is the biggest DeFi network for the BNB, that's the Binance coin. And basically, how do they operate if they don't have anyone behind it? They had the developing team in the beginning, but right now they are managed by the community itself. Like every change in the code, in the procedures, in the way that things are done, need to be voted by the people who own, in this case, to approve or modify the procedures. What are the key benefits? You have no intermediary, so there is no possibility of fraud within the transaction. because you can always see what contract you're entering to. It's written there, it's transparent, and you'll know where the money is going to go and what are the methodologies of taking it out without interference from external parties. The second one is there is no need for KYC, as you are not interacting with anything to identify yourself or do any type of KYC. And the third part is there is no controlling party over the transactions. And in this, it means that anyone can interact with this platform. Meaning you create a token, you want to add liquidity to that token. That's one of the DeFi procedures. You can just do it on PancakeSwap yourself without the possibility of being removed, unless if the community as a whole with more than 50% of the tokens decide that it shouldn't be there. I think that the main objective for me with this three examples just to show that there are allergy, and this is what we see in a lot of these new tokens that are appearing. Of course, Pedro and Adam will
George, you are cut sometimes. Sorry, I don't know if it's me only. Can you go back like 10 seconds earlier?
give you a much better deep
So I think George is saying that we're going to move to the next slide.
Okay, well, is that it?
George?
George, is it next slide?
I was asking if
It's going to be
any question. I don't know if you can hear me now.
Oh, okay. So anybody has any questions? That's what he's asking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Better. Yeah.
No questions in the forum.
Nothing in the chat so far.
Okay. Well, let's then move on to the next one. Shall we, George?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I finally managed to change just the speaker to the phone. So I was just asking, oh, one question there. The name of the social network is Wintar. They are US based at the moment.
How do you spell that, George? Wintar? I'm going to put the link.
We have the links in next slide. If we can go to it, maybe then when we share this, everybody will have the links.
Okay, excellent.
In this slide, if you guys have any question, these links are the white papers or light papers, depending on the case of each of these projects. This is one thing that all projects that are launched, at least all the legitimate projects that are launched, will release at some time, and it details their objective, what they're trying to achieve, who are their partners, and what are their capabilities. So you have it in this one here. In the case of PancakeSwap, I also leave you in the first link the voting system that they have. It's a very good example of how governance and new type of government procedures can be implemented with the blockchain.
Right, so I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to quickly fly through this white paper so that you can have a look of what this is all about. So here we go. We've got here the white paper for GMR. So this is basically a prospect where the companies present themselves and they basically explain how the thing works, what's the idea, and what are the rules. Because do not forget, we're talking about implementing a system which has a set of rules, which then regulate the behaviors and the incentives as it goes on. Crypto is no more and no less than this, as we've seen on the previous sessions. So
Pedro, I would just add one thing to the company prospectus. It's a little bit of a mix of a company prospectus and an academic paper.
yeah.
Then depending on which token we are talking about, it can go to one or the other. Usually you'll have very detailed for any developer out there that wants to touch this. They have all their code released.
Yeah, and the thing is, here you pretty much can have an overview of what this is all about. You can read it. Usually it's a nice read. You can always go into the details of all of this if you follow their links. But if you do this, at least you know sort of what it's all about. There are scams, as we've also mentioned on the previous sessions. So it is a good practice to just go about and have a look at the paper before buying any type of tokens, if that is what you want to do. Check it out, see what it looks like. Check out if it's for real, if it's well done, if it makes sense. A quick read can save you quite a few headaches down the road.
And more in these slide papers, Pedro, just to add, as you guys saw somewhere, there were some audits and some other links to external parties. It's during the paper. It's easy to see after. But what I wanted just to add on is there is quite a big ecosystem that helps these tokens being launched. These audit firms and communities, some are very reputable, and if you don't have a CertiK audit, it will be harder for you to reach certain types of people who do more due diligence, for example. And this is how this ecosystem also helps validating these tokens and bringing them to the market.
Yeah, so here's Wintar, basically the same thing. This is not as graphically appealing as the previous, but that's fine.
It's a light paper. It's just ambition, without any part of the technology or the business. And this is this is the voting.
If you want to do some homework and go down a rabbit hole, have a try at PancakeSwap. There's a ton of things happening in there. Check it out, see what it's all about, and it's quite a brand new world and fascinating, if I may use the word itself. So check it out as a little bit of homework if you want. It's very, very interesting.
What you're seeing here is the voting system that they have, and basically this page is where all the governance for this platform is made. You can see on the top, make a proposal. Any developer can make a proposal to the community, which, if voted enough, will be implemented.
Yep. Any questions?
Right now, one proposal being voted.
Any questions at this point, or shall we follow on? Well, it seems like we're fine. So let's go back to the deck then. And here we go. Adam, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. Once again, thank you for inviting me all the way from sunny Singapore. It's 12:30 a.m. in Singapore. It's really dark, so I apologize if I'm slurring my words. It has been a long day today for me. So the last time I was on here for week 1, it was amazing, right? We were sharing about blockchain, the uses, we had a great time. And today I'll be sharing with you a project that I started 2 months ago, a startup that I started 2 months ago. It's called SubX. And what we essentially do is trying to create an ecosystem of startups around the world. So in the last 5 years, I have started and exited 2 startups. One of them that were backed by the government of Singapore, and one of them was backed by the Alibaba Cloud Program for entrepreneurs. So throughout my entire experience running startups, I do experience a couple of pain points, and I realize that a lot of people who start a startup for the very first time, they face similar issues. So next slide, please. The 3 major pain point of a new entrepreneur or a first-time founder is that number 1, you have limited knowledge and network, especially when you just started. Of course, this might not necessarily be the case, especially if you're in the industry for many years, perhaps 15, 20 years. But let's say college fresh grad, a person who just completed a postgraduate program, just entering the working world, it's a real possibility that the person might have very limited network or business knowledge, right? The second problem is that a lot of first-time entrepreneurs have limited access to business tools. They do not know, what's the best. They do not know of project management tools, customer relationship management tools that could actually be used to help them in their business. And the third and the biggest problem is that a lot of the time it's quite hard for first-time entrepreneurs to raise capital. In my time running startups, I have talked to angel investors, I've talked to venture capitalists, and it has become second nature to me. But for a first-time person starting a business, it could be really, really painful, really difficult to actually get the money to get the idea started. Next slide, please. So I spent the last 2 months to build an ecosystem for founders to network, learn, grow, and raise capital on decentralized finance. So fun fact, SubX was launched 2 months ago and it reached a maximum market cap of 10 million Singapore dollars. We actually raised around 190,000 US dollars for our initial DEX offering. All right, next slide, please. We are building 3 products. The first being SubX Plus, which is basically a bunch of ecosystem applications meant for founders to be able to get educated with online courses, get access to deals on the marketplace, as well as to network with the community on our app. We are also releasing 2 other products, the Metal Card service, as well as Launchpad X. Metal Card is basically a yearly subscription for software that we build for founders to be able to use for their businesses. And Launchpad X is an interesting platform where we allow startup to raise capital on decentralized finance. So you could be a fresh grad, you have a good idea, you need some perhaps $10,000 or $20,000 to kick your idea going. We provide the service where you can come on, create your very own token, and you can sell it to investors to raise funds. Next slide, please. All right, I hope you guys like my slides. I spent an hour in the morning doing them. All right, so the business model of how it works is that for to use our ecosystem applications, SubX Plus, the users will have to actually purchase our token and hold them. They do not have to actually make a payment. They do not actually have to, to pay us a yearly subscription. The reason being is we want to make it easy and accessible and affordable for everyone. They could buy $1 of our token and they'll have full access to our applications. For the Metal Card service, we are actually launching a suite of customer relationship management tools, accounting tools, analytic tools, all for a sweet ticket price of $98 US a year. And for Launchpad, we actually take 10% commission for all of the funding that's raised on our platform. So the initial creating of the token, the contract signings with the investors will all be settled by our online platform. And the only thing that we take is 10% of the raise funding, along with a couple $100 of SubX tokens. Next slide, please. Right. So the market sizing for just in case you guys didn't know, there are approximately 500 million of entrepreneurs or founders around the world. And out of this, 64 million of them are doing their business for the very first time, nascent entrepreneurs. And this startup is particularly targeting 15 million of this 64 million all around the world, even in Portugal, right? Which is great because that allows me to connect with people from all around the world like you guys. Next slide, please. Yeah. It's a trend now where, you know, COVID-19 hit a lot of businesses, a lot of countries really hard. I hope that, you know, you guys have it a little bit more fortunate, but in some countries, you know, layoffs are extremely common. And one of the ways that people start getting back up is to eventually start their own small or micro businesses. And with a trend of, you know, there are more and more founders popping up in the last 5 months, I do believe that a solution like SubX could be something that might be beneficial to them. Next slide, please. So the reason why we build it on the blockchain, right? So, you know, there are a lot of startups ecosystem all around the world. A lot of the time, these accelerator incubator programs are mostly co-founded by governments or large amount of by angels. The problem with targeting early stage startups is that there's very little money to be made traditionally. You're targeting people that, you know, don't necessarily have a lot of capital from the get-go, and thus charging services, mastermind, might not be very profitable. And that's why a lot of the money that comes to support early stage founders usually come from government initiative or non-profit organizations. When we build it on the smart chain, when we build it on the blockchain, we get to do certain things that we can't normally do on a traditional startup. And one of the most important thing here is the transactional tax. So we are able to apply a universal tax to all transactions of our token, meaning that if someone buys or sell our token, they actually pay a 12% transactional tax. And a portion of this goes directly into the company as revenue. And this is how we are able to sustain ourselves without having to actually charge a lot of money to first-time entrepreneurs. And another important thing that is really cool that was previously mentioned was voting, right? So Pedro was showing PancakeSwap, where you are able to vote for new features and they get implemented. And this is really cool because in a normal ecosystem or normal community, right, you know, everyone gets they can get their voice heard, right? But nothing is quantitative, right? When it comes to the blockchain, how much tokens you own is equivalent to how powerful your voice is. For example, if today I own 5% of all of the SubX token, my vote will be significantly more powerful than a person who owns $1. So this allows stakeholders and investors to actually have a stronger say in the ecosystem. They're able to vote quantitatively with the amount of SubX tokens that they own, and thus we are able to make decisions and do our roadmap based on the community instead of, you know, us just running the show and, you know, ignoring everyone else. So next slide, please. So enough talking about myself. I think there are a lot of opportunities for young people like you guys, like us, to actually use the blockchain to build impactful companies and businesses that you might not normally be able to do without the blockchain. So using the blockchain technology to leverage on such use cases might be potentially something that you might do in the future, or maybe your employer might be interested to explore. So I think the fact that you guys are taking your time down on Thursday to listen about blockchain, I think that's really amazing. So thank you guys. That's it from me. If you guys have any particular questions, you guys can type it in the chat and I will try my best to answer them. All right, so I got a question. Why the Binance Smart Chain and not the Ethereum network? So there are a lot of cryptocurrency networks that you can build tokens on, right? One of the two most popular ones right now are the Ethereum network and the Binance Smart Chain. And there are a couple of new projects that are coming out as well, such as Matic, such as KuCoin chain, that could be potentially used as a base technology to build your tokens on. One of the important criteria when you look at this kind of different technologies are their number one, their cost. In order for you to transfer tokens or to actually implement code onto their contract, you have to pay a certain amount of fee to the network. And for Ethereum, the price of this cost has been increasing over the last 16 months. For me to do the same thing on Ethereum, it will cost me around 10 to 16 times more than I would have to do it on the Binance Smart Chain. So a big factor of it is the cost. A second factor that you might want to take into is the adoption rate of the network. The Ethereum network has been around for such a long time. It has a huge amount of developers, of investors, and it's a really good network to launch a project on. The Binance Smart Chain was launched not long ago as well, in the last year. And the reason why I decided to go for it was because there are a lot of new investors, there are a lot of new money flowing into the network, and it was a very prime opportunity to actually enter, create a project, and to raise some funding. And that was why this project was able to raise $190,000 without having to talk to an angel, without having to go to a venture capital fund, and I was able to do it in the comfort of my bedroom 2 months ago. So right now we're in the office here. We have an office by the seaside in Singapore. And the reason why we are able to grow the team, grow the project, was because of the fact that we were able to raise the amount of money in such a short time. So I hope that answers your question. That was a good question. All right, I think there are no more questions in the chat. You guys can continue to add it in if you guys have any question, and I'll try and reply after the end of this presentation. So without that, I'll pass the time to Pedro, who's going to talk about Real Fever. I think it's an amazing token as well.
Yeah, just let me jump in for a second, Pedro. I'd really like to unpack some of what we've just seen here. Okay. The question was fantastic about why Binance Smart Chain instead of Ethereum. If you remember, we spoke about gas fees on the last session. There's also network performance, which is also a consideration, and how quick you can get the transactions through. So there's a few options today to go for that. But in terms of what we've seen here with Subex, and what Adam and his team have been able to do was simply, and I underline the word simply, to put together a business model, get a set of rules around it, organize an ecosystem of stakeholders that are, and the underlying thing or the underlying technology that allows them to move forward, it's crypto. So it's the fact that everything's transparent, everything, it's rule-based, there's a system of incentives, and everything works as expected because you have smart contracts in place that enforce the rules. So instead of, for example, going for a more traditional approach, Adam and the team could have gone to venture capitalists, get money, spend some time developing the ideas, launching the products, and all of that. That would have taken a little bit more time than in this case. So what they did was to leverage technology, first design the ecosystem that they wanted to implement, launch it, have the people buy the token, finance the operation, and there it goes, and there it grows, and it distributes value across all the stakeholders of their ecosystem. So this is basically what crypto is allowing them to do. Right, Adam? Anything else that you'd like to add to this?
You were spot on. So a fun fact, it's a little secret, so I hope you guys don't tell anyone, right? So I designed and rolled out the ecosystem in 2 days in my bedroom, right? After I sold my last company a couple months ago, and after that I was a little bit free. So I was in my bedroom one day, I was watching Netflix, and then suddenly I got inspired, right? I was like, hey, you know what? I should do something about early stage founders. So I sat down, took a piece of paper, took a pen, and penned down the entire ecosystem in 2 days. I spent the next day coding up the smart contract. And then within the third day, I actually published the smart contract onto the network. So after that, I took another 1 week to get my initial hires, to get a marketing team, to get a operation team. And afterwards, within 2 weeks of me publishing that contract, we actually launched our initial DEX offering, which is a way for us to raise funds. Within 1 day, we hit around $10 million market cap. And I would like to share something as well, right? So we have been talking about the benefits, we have been talking about the great things about crypto, but I would like to share from my opinion one consideration when you want to do a project on crypto, which is the fact that crypto pricings are very unpredictable. Price swings do happen, and that might potentially affect the company, especially if a lot of their financial assets are in cryptocurrency. So as a company, we got to be wise with our cryptos as well. For example, when we raised our capital, it was in Binance Coin, and we actually had to sell quite a couple of them in order to make sure that we have fiat currency for our operations. Because I can't go to the bank and say that, hey, can I take out a loan with Binance Coin as a collateral? At least not yet. And I got to pay the office rent in fiat currency as well, right? I actually tried, right? So I asked my landlord, hi, Mrs., will you be able to accept cryptocurrency? And she was like, what? And then that's when I know, that's not going to cut it. So one thing that a company has to understand is that when you actually have a project on crypto, you might be also, the price swings of crypto, the volatility might also affect you for better or for worse, right? If you're prepared, you can take advantage of that. If you're not, it could really hurt you as well. So that is something that that was a really interesting experience as well. Thanks, Pedro. Yep, you were really spot on.
Thank you. Well,
Right,
now
guys.
we go to the other Pedro.
Hey,
there he goes. And please tell us a little bit about NFTs as well.
Yeah, sure. I have a I have a little presentation here about NFTs. I did it for Imperial College, I think 2 months ago. Let me just share my screen in a second. And by the way, thanks, Adam. I really like your project, by the way. So I'm definitely gonna buy some tokens because I just took, and this is not financial advice, but I just took a look at the subs token price, and it's a really good time to buy. So I mean, this is not financial advice in any way. Just what I'm about to do after this call. All right. And I really like the project, and I really like that the fact that Adam doesn't. The project subs doesn't require us to have like a minimum stake, which is fucking brilliant. Sorry, I'm cursing. I shouldn't. Which is awesome. And I really like that. I really like that. So it's really cool. And I own a bunch of crypto cards, and all of them require to have a minimum stake. So not having a minimum stake is incredible. Okay, so yeah, my screen is shared by okay, you can see my screen, right? Can you? Yeah. No.
Now we can.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. So NFTs. Right now, from my understanding, you've discussed what blockchain is. You have had an introduction to DeFi. I think the next step is basically NFTs, so non-fungible tokens. Usually tokens are fungible, so like subs, for example, or Fever token, which we'll go into in a second. Those are fungible, meaning that you can exchange one for another and they have the same value, right? They're the same. It's like a currency, basically. Unit of currency, like Bitcoin, they're fungible. So one unit is the same worth as another unit. But you have another type of blockchain assets, which are non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, basically, for short. We're really bad at giving names at stuff here in technology. I don't know why, but yeah, but NFTs, it's easier to understand. Basically, the idea here is that you can have assets that are a bit different because they contain properties and features that make them different from one another. So, and I'll give you a few examples in a bit. But the idea is that when you have we have two types of festivals. So you have fungible assets and non-fungible assets. Here you have, for example, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Non-fungible, you have, for example, CryptoKitties or the CryptoPunks, for example. And every type of copyright, as we use in our case, and I'll explain in a bit, but those are non-fungible as well. In the real world, you have like houses, cars, paintings, etc. Art, for example, collectibles. Those are types of assets that are non-fungible because they are unique or their characteristics are unique. types of fungible assets in the real world, like currency, as I said, oil, for example, gold, wood, any type of commodity, basically. They're interchangeable. So some of the properties basically are of NFTs is that they are a type of digital deed. So you can actually have property rights on the blockchain. They are unique, so they are scarce because they have different, as I said, different characteristics, different features from one another. And I'll show a couple of examples as well. And NFT owners actually have bragging rights, which is a very important feature. So because it shows that they have proof of ownership, right? Let's say that you own Mona Lisa or a piece of Mona Lisa. You like one of the properties that you could do is prove that you actually own the piece, right? You could write a transaction, sign a transaction, and prove that this address that I control is actually the owner, which is awesome because you can actually brag about it. um, they also have movement rights, right? So because they control the asset, they can move the asset with their own MetaMask address, for example, and the asset is contained on their own address. So they own the address. The private keys basically own the address, own the asset basically. And the value is very simple to understand. So NFT solved digital rights ownership problem. Basically, you don't need a central party to verify the authenticity of the asset. It's basically verified by everybody, but by consensus. They are programmable. NFTs are also programmable smart contracts. For example, Adam just deployed a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, as you said, I think. It's a smart contract on Ethereum, right? On Binance Smart Chain, which is basically using the EVM. The FIFA is also deployed on the Binance Smart Chain, which is very easy to use because it's basically the same technology as Ethereum. They just copied Ethereum and made it a bit more useful. So it's a great project. I also subscribe to everything that Adam said. I really like Binance Smart Chain. But basically, the idea is that they contain properties, right? The smart contracts contain properties, and they can be, for example, non-fungible, right? They can have features, attributes that are desired by the creator and make them very unique. This is very easy to understand with art, but these features can be applied to everything else basically. And I'll try to give some examples outside the art and games. They can be copied, and this is one of the important things because people, your NFTs, you're selling it on OpenSea. I can just control right click, copy the NFT. Now it's mine. No, you can copy the image, for example, but you cannot copy the asset. As I said, the owner of the asset is the guy who owns the addresses that control the asset, so it can't really be copied. You can copy the image, but you can copy the actual blockchain content. So what I mean is that you can copy the metadata, but you cannot copy the blockchain data basically. Each NFT is basically linked to a unique unbreakable hash forged by distributed consensus. I really like this sentence. And the NFTs cannot be censored. This is a really cool thing. I mean, they can be censored, but it's not easy basically. So it's very difficult to censor something that's on a blockchain basically. This is the idea. So once they're deployed in a public blockchain, like a typical smart contract, the code will exist forever. Even if, for example, Real Fever disappears, the Fever token will exist, the Fever NFTs will exist, etc. So we really don't control the assets once they're really deployed on the blockchain. And this is a characteristic of our project, and I'll compare it to our competitors because it makes sense, I think. But before I do that, let me just go next. And basically, what you're seeing here, I'll give a description of who I am later if I have time, but I think it's more important to give you as much content as possible so that you can do your own research later about everything that I'm saying now. But I think it's just important to to try to break your heads with as much information as possible. These are just some types of NFTs that exist: art, music, domain names. Domain names are very important, and these are actually NFTs. People sometimes forget about it, but you can receive money in Pedro.it, for example, or Pedro.crypto, whatever. You can create a domain, very simple to read, very simple to send. You can create a website that's based on the domain, and you can send money directly to a domain, which is incredible. I think it's awesome. You can have virtual worlds, and we'll see a couple of examples: trading card games, collectibles, sports, utility. So there's NFTs for everything, basically. These are just the top collections at the time. I think it was May or something. NBA Top Shot was the top collection. CryptoPunks. Rarible is a marketplace. X Infinity is a game. Sorare is also for football, for sports, but playing cards, not really videos. But I'll get into that later. But as you can see, the volume is crazy: 596 million, 365 million, 397,000 traders, or people holding basically like NBA Top Shot, for example, almost now it's way over 6 million, but at the time 6 million sales. Let me just hide this. And you have, like, for example, top sales, CryptoPunk, that was sold for 7.5 over $7 million dollars. I don't know, something about Adam Swoden that that was released $5 million. So I mean, you have stuff being bought and being sold for lots of money. People really dig NFTs. They really dig uniqueness. Sorry, of NFTs. So this is a market that's exploding, but it's just starting. It started with, well, not really with CryptoKitties, but let's say with CryptoKitties in 2017. It kind of died after that a bit. There were a few projects, but nah, not that crazy. But you know, for example, Axie Infinity was born around that time, but now it's going huge. It's going, you know, crazy. Everybody's playing the game, using the game, and it's actually people living off the game, which is crazy. Like in Venezuela, I think, and some some developing economies people are actually living off playing the games, which is, it's amazing. I think it's brilliant. All right. Sometimes I speak too fast. Sorry about that. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll look at them later. And if you need to interrupt me, please, Pierre or Pedro, please just interrupt me, because, you know, sometimes I just go on.
The only thing,
Yep.
Pedro, is going well. Some
Yep.
of the people are saying that the rate of speed that you're using
I can slow a
is
bit.
incredible.
Okay.
And some people are trying to run after you, and they're just
Okay.
seeing your,
Okay,
your
it's fine.
shoes.
It's fine. All right, sorry about that, guys. It's just, as I said, I have so much content that I would like to deliver in just a few minutes that, you know, but I'll try to speak a bit slower. So in terms of examples, I won't waste too much time here, but you have CryptoPunks, as I said. You have, oh, this one from Beeple, actually like a piece that Beeple, famous artist, made containing all the art that they created. And he signed, basically this sentence here is like metadata. Okay, I'm going to show you because it's fun. Let's see here. Oh, no, this is the image. Sorry, this is the link that I want to send you. This is an IPFS. It's the Interplanetary File Server. Oh, come on, really? Why? I know why. I need the IPFS link. Ah, there we go. IPFS. IPFS. Oh, come on. God damn it. Okay, sorry, I cannot show you because I put the wrong link here, I think. Oh, come on, work. Are you gonna work? No, it's not gonna work. I know that I need the IPFS before this, but I don't know it by heart. Let's try like this. Nope, no, it's not gonna work. Come on. Nope. No, okay, forget it. That it works in some others, like for example, there we go. OPFS. No, not this one. I want one in IPFS. Come on, IPFS. This one perhaps. Let's see. Yes, okay, this is IPFS2, I think. It's not, but it's similar. So the other one, basically, this is what I'm to show you because it contains the metadata, right? So the Beeple one, this sentence here on the Beeple was contained on the metadata, basically a description of the artist, of what it is, right? And this gets stored into IPFS, but the contract, what gets stored into the blockchain is basically a token ID. I think I can show you this contract. This is the blockchain, by the way. It looks weird, but you know, don't get too scared. Let's see if I can go to token URI. Where is the, there we go. Was I smart enough to write the token URI? I was, all right.
For the guys that are very confused about what Pedro is showing, this
Yep.
is what we'll explain to you.
There we go.
Next session.
There we go.
BSCAN available, accessible to everyone.
Boom. Sorry, I just wanted to show you the metadata. I wanted to, come on. Are you kidding me? Oh, okay. This is, you see, this is a problem sometimes of the blockchain because you want to show stuff and it doesn't work. It's outside of the blockchain, basically. It's where the metadata is stored. But anyways, the point here is, there we go, that the token ID is stored here and you get a link and it should work. I know why it doesn't work. Sorry. I think I know why it doesn't work. Give me just a second. I think it's because of this. If somebody knows why it's not working, but I know I'm being dumb here. Like it's super basic and I don't know why it's happening. Come on, it should work. No, come on, boo.
There's a Z missing in the end. You missed the final letter.
I did. Where?
But this is great, Pedro.
Doesn't matter.
When
Okay.
everybody gets frustrated, they'll understand that even someone in here for years, this happens sometimes.
Yeah, it happens. It doesn't matter. But the idea you can access this link somehow. I don't remember how it's missing something. Doesn't matter. But the idea is that you get this metadata that I showed you here, with the description of the item, like the URL, like the contract, the date, everything. Basically, everything gets written here. And in the blockchain, you get the token ID that gets the link for the metadata, basically. And this ID, it's what gets stored into a blockchain. Just to give you, like, you know, a real world example of like how an actual blockchain looks like and an actual token like NFT looks like basically. But the image is stored on this here. There we go. This is the image basically. It gets stored as well. So on IPFS, so that it's actually secured in the decentralized network. All right, let's get back to the topic at hand. I sometimes get distracted. Sorry about that. You have domain names, as I said. You can create stuff there with simple domain like CryptoNerds for CryptoNerds.it is a CryptoNerd is a project that I built, like an academy where like the content is basically. I can send access to Pierre and Pedro, and they can share if you guys want access to this. But so you can send money, you can create websites based on a domain like this. We have virtual worlds where you can literally buy digital land, like this example here, the central land or the sandbox. So you can buy digital land literally that has you have limited spaces. Some land is better than other land. If people build stuff there, then it's more valuable. It's actually like digital, like the Second Life. You remember the game Second Life? Now imagine Second Life with actual blockchain, like land. What I mean blockchain land, sorry, with actually land that's created on a blockchain. So it means that's scarcity is enforced by a consensus mechanism, which is it's amazing. It's incredible, I think. Games, for example, and I'll dive into Fever in a second, but you have other ones like NBA Top Shot for the NBA. You have Axie Infinities, you have Pepemon, like based on Pokemon, but with the frogs, basically, if you know the Pepe frogs. Axie Infinity is that game that I told you that players are actually earning money and living off the game. You have utility, which are the ones that people sometimes don't talk about. In NFTFi, which is awesome. It's there's another one which has a weird name. I think I have it here somewhere. Give me a second. Nope, I don't have it here. No, I don't have it. Doesn't matter. But the idea is that you can fractionalize NFT. So imagine you can turn an NFT into a fungible token, right? So imagine that you can fractionalize Mona Lisa or something easier to understand, like a building, right? You want people to own a building, so like many people to own a building so that they can invest and get a percentage of the income from Airbnb, something like that, right? And you can do that for like NFTs. I own a very important, a very valuable NFT, like CryptoPunk that's worth $7 million. I fractionalize it. People now can invest in it. It's like it trades like an ERC20, right? Like a normal token. Well, let me see if I can show you. Where is the? Come on, didn't I save that? I thought.
So while Pedro finds it,
yeah, it's here. It's here. It's this one. Boom. There we go. So for example, these are NFTs, right? CryptoPunks, and you can actually trade. Let me open it here. But you can actually trade punks here as tokens, like with the price as an ERC20, right? With the market, with like sellers and buyers, like a swap, like in PancakeSwap, right? Instead of buying like in a marketplace from one user having to pay 7 million, I can fractionalize it in 1 million shares. People can buy those million shares, right? So you can do this with like, for example, these punks, right? So this is actually quite interesting, I think. This is not an NFTFi, it was a different project, but it's similar, right? And you have CollectHeal. Actually, I built CollectHeal with a friend, and the idea of CollectHeal is it's to allow people to borrow and lend NFTs, right? They can add a yield to their NFTs. So I can add a collateral, link a collateral to the NFT, and then I can actually lend the NFT and get a yield on it. So you have the two ways. I can add a collateral to the NFT, or I can lend the NFT and get a yield, basically paid by the other counterparty, right? This is very important because we're actually using a similar protocol. Not sure if it's going to be this one or another competitor because we stopped working on it. We just created a testnet and we didn't get any traction because we actually need to build an app on top of this, which is Real Fever is actually going to use this, but I'll get in a second. So these are just like some types of NFTs, some examples. I know I spoke too fast. Sorry about that. It was just like loads of information.
Let me break in for just a question, and I also wanted to share a story, a very short story with the group as well.
Yeah, I'll go into Real Fever after this, but go on. Yeah, sure.
So this is not new, and then I go back to what I've been saying since session 1. The idea behind this is pretty much what exists in the real world. So back just before the year 2000, I can't remember exactly the name, David Bowie did something that today could be considered the precursor to NFTs. So basically what he did was he put together a series of contracts with a lawyer, no smart chain back then, that sold the profits of his artistic work and royalties for the coming, I think it was 10 years or 15 years of something of the sorts. So this is something that today could be very easily done with NFTs, because he would retain the ownership of his intellectual property or his artistic work, if you will. He would then be able to sell it to somebody. If that person would be able to resell it to another person, he would still keep the ownership of the intellectual property behind it. This was extremely difficult to do back then, just before the year 2000. But today it's a good example of how you could apply technology to this. So this is the story that I wanted to share. There was a question in the chat about minting. Do you want to address that, Pedro? What does minting mean?
Sure. I mean, I'm sorry that I cannot actually show you the minting of the collectibles because it's not released yet. The CTO is over there, so I cannot even. He would see it, so he would kill me after this. So I cannot actually do. I would love to do it to show the NFT minting, but the process is very simple. The minting is because you have two steps basically. You have the step where you can. When you can create an NFT, but it's not minted. So basically, it's like it exists and it doesn't exist, right? It exists in a blockchain, but it doesn't exist as an ID yet, right? So you need to mint. You need to actually create the token. Boof. So there's actually it can have two steps or one step. You can actually mint the token in the NFT immediately, or you can have it with a two steps process, right? Some projects like Sorare do this, where, for example, not all the NFTs that they create are actually exist, right? Some only exist in the database. Then they're not tradable, basically. I mean, yeah, I don't think, they're not tradable, basically. So, yeah, because it's expensive, right? It's expensive to create content in the blockchain. I'm going to give you an example. And we are using Binance Smart Chain, but just for a reference, we're minting 70,005 packs. Each pack has between 3 and 5 NFTs, right? But just for the packs, the creation of the packs is about, let's say, between $70,000 and $100,000, right? So it's actually, you actually have a printing cost, literally. Like you go to a printing, like, press, and they have to print stuff. It's actually the same thing. You have a printing cost in the blockchain, which is funny because people think digitally you don't have a cost, but you do have a cost. So the minting is basically the process where you actually mint the token. It exists. Poof. In our case, it's very funny. It's very interesting because users, as you can see here on the site, I'm connected with my wallet, meaning that when I interact with the website, or when I will interact with the website buying packs, for example, I will do it through my MetaMask. It means that I'll have an extra cost as a user, sure, but it is decentralized. So means that I'm in control of the assets the entire time, right? And this is a very important point for us for Real Fever, because users are actually the owners of the assets, the owners of, in the marketplace, who don't own anything, right? The moment that the packs are created and the packs are bought, people need to actually mint the tokens. They need to buy the packs. They'll spend transaction fees when they're buying the packs, and they spend transaction fees when they're minting the token. So that has an actual cost, but it is what it is, right? You have to pay a price for decentralization. So and we think this is the best business model. You have other projects like Sorare, for example, where they're also in control, right? Or for example, NBA Top Shot, it's a blockchain, but you don't have keys, right? You don't have an address you control. So it's weird because the assets are controlled by Flow, essentially, the blockchain, right? In our case, it's not. It's controlled by the user, and that's our goal. We want the user to be in charge. We want the user to be in control. It's decentralized. It's blockchain, so we shouldn't be in control in any step of the way. We don't want middlemen. We want to remove middlemen. So literally, the user is on control, right? So what is the project? What is Real Fever? Real Fever is a fantasy football app. It has been developing since 2015. It has about 1 million and something downloads, a few thousand regular users. And the idea is to introduce the Fever token and the Fever collectibles, right? And the Fever collectibles are, you can access the Fever collectibles with the Fever token, right? So in order to buy packs, in packs, you have NFTs, which are video collectibles. You have different types of rarity, basically. As you can see here, some are common, some are rare, some are legendary, some are unique. For example, Ronaldo's first goal, for example, it will be a unique NFT, so it exists one of one, right? Which is cool. But the idea is that, and this is basically the Fever ecosystem. Ok, just give me just 1 second. Tá bem, mas eu junto-me daqui a bocado. So basically, the Fantasy League exists now. You can play it. You can go to Apple Store, or you can go to the Google Store and download the app free, Real Fever, and play the Fantasy League. What we're building basically with the token is, first, we're adding also token leagues, so you can wager with the token, right, on the Fantasy Leagues. And to improve that, we're basically, just close this. Okay, and to improve that, we're also creating the collectibles, right? To access the collectibles, the packs, you have two ways. Sorry, to access the collectibles, you have two ways. One is buy the packs. When you buy the packs, you can afterwards open the packs and mint the collectibles, right? And you will get collectibles. It's a random process, so you might get super rare, you might get only rare, depends, right? It's like a pack, like a Panini pack, right? You open it and you have the cards. But these ones are video collectibles, so you actually see the video and you own the digital rights, because this is important. The IP, we bought the IP of the videos, right? So we actually own the IP. So the IP is on the, like, you know, it's like a DVD. It's like literally like a DVD. You own the DVD, you own the rights. Okay, it's the same thing. So with the Fever token, basically you buy these packs, or you can go to the marketplace, right? We're going to have a marketplace, and you can buy the collectibles, the video collectibles, from other fans, right? And for that, you can use BNB, because, you know, it's a marketplace, so you can use the currency of BNB, which is the currency of the Binance Smart Chain, the platform like that we use to develop the smart contracts. But to access the packs, you need to use the Fever token. You can also stake Fever. We'll call it subscribe, a subscription, and you'll get you know, recurrent packs. Then you basically can after you have the packs, the right holders get a commission, basically, which are the people who own the basically also the rights of the videos. They get the commission on the first sales, and basically you can use the collectibles within the app. So this is something that we're building that I don't think any other project has yet, which is actual utility for the collectibles, right? They're not just aesthetic, they're also you can actually use them within the app. And after you have token leagues, this makes sense, because they're like boosts, they're like power-ups. And this is where the other protocol that I was telling you about, where is it, collect yield protocol, comes in, because basically you'll be able to borrow and lend these moments to other fans, so that they can use in the fantasy and the free leagues, right? So you don't actually need to buy these moments to use them in the fantasy leagues to get more points. You can actually borrow from other fans, right? So this is pretty cool, because some of them are going to be probably very expensive to buy. So it's better if you can just borrow, like, you know, and the person doesn't need to sell, he can keep the asset and still make money from the asset, which is pretty cool, I think. We're developing literally a completely new business model. It does not exist yet. So, and just to get basically an idea of the business model, so you have the first pack revenue share, as I said. The right holders get 50%, 40% of the tokens get locked for an unspecified amount of time, because we cannot have burns, right? In Portugal legislation, burns are not possible, because that would make the token price probably go up. So we don't have burns, but you will lock the tokens for an unspecified amount of time, which is more or less the same thing. And then 10% goes to Real Fever. You have fees and royalties, basically. A maximum of 5%, sorry, on every trade, basically. You have the subscriptions, as I said, so that you can get these packs and you don't have to wait in line, and you might miss them, so you can just subscribe to recurring drops, because then you can have more than one drop per month. You can have borrow and lending, as I said, so people can just, like, you know, get collectibles, borrow and lend collectibles, get a yield. Other users can use the collectibles within the fantasy app, and they can improve their teams, get extra points. And this is important because they can wager tokens, they can wager Fever tokens, right? So it's actually money involved, or, you know, value involved, not money, sorry, value. I cannot say money, value, that's what I meant. Also clubs, Launchpad. So clubs, for example, let's imagine a club like Sporting, for example, or Benfica or Porto. I'm not saying that they are confirmed, wink, but imagine those clubs basically, you know, join Real Fever, and they want to launch their own NFTs. Can be, like, you know, videos like we have, can be memorabilia, can be different things. They can use our ecosystem to launch them. They have zero cost. They can just create they just have to create, like, you know, the visuals of the NFTs, and we can do the rest. We can help them doing the rest. There's absolutely no cost to using our, like, you know, Launchpad. Basically, it's free. They can just launch the stuff there. But the token will be the incentive for us, right? The Fever token, right? Because they need to use Fever token. So, and as I said, in-game video collectibles. So basically, people can actually use the collectibles within the fantasy apps and the token leagues, the fantasy leagues and the token leagues, basically, to get extra points. Yeah, this is it. Basically, this is more or less the business model. Tokenomics doesn't really matter. You can check the website and see the tokenomics. Everybody's vested, basically. So this is important for anybody who is thinking buying the token, to buy packs, or just as a speculation, basically, if this is something you guys like. But everybody's vested, basically, so we cannot dump the token, which is good, because price goes down when people sell. Basically, price goes up when people buy. So this is economics 101, but it's actually what makes the token price go up and down. So in terms of utility, just to give you a full scope, you can buy packs, you can trade moments with Fever. You can access the subscription pool. You can access the club launchpad with Fever token, peer-to-peer NFT lending with Fever token, fantasy token links with Fever token. So there's a bunch of utility within the Fever token ecosystem, right? You need the token to access all this. And then we have the roadmap on things that are going to get deployed. Some of this stuff is probably going to get deployed way before what's in here, but we just wanted to stretch it up, just because stuff can go wrong, so it is what it is. And yeah, we have a bunch of partners like Bipro, another company worth a few millions, is also working with us, developing the smart contract with us. Oops, sorry about that. Liga Portugal is our sole partner, Federação Portuguesa de Futebol, Polka Starter, Quatro Casas, SoccerX, Chilling, I don't know, a bunch of investor companies, Clever, Get.io, the exchange, Moonrock, and more are coming. Yes, the token price. I think it's important to show. We're now worth 121 million with diluted market cap, obviously. And there's like about almost 100 million tokens pooled. Almost over 2,500 BNB pooled and this is only in PancakeSwap, by the way, because we have Gate.io and we have other swaps where you can buy the token. Total liquidity is over 1 million, which is pretty cool, and daily volume is over 2 million, which is also pretty cool. The token price is here. You can see it had a pump until 0.014, then fell here, but it's okay to buy now, I think. Yeah, the IDO went very well. We sold out in 2 minutes. We raised 300 something like that, 300,000, something like that. Yeah, the token had enormous adoption, I think, on BSC. Why am I lying? I can actually check it, right? This is the part of blockchain, right? Let's see it. There we go. Fever. Oops. Come on. There we go. I know the contract ends in CC, so I know this is the actual contract. So we have over 4,500 addresses holding BSC. So this is people, or can be more than one person can have more than one address. But why, right? Why would you buy with different addresses Fever? But so there's lots of people holding Fever right now, which I think is pretty cool. The token has like 2 weeks, so it's growing a lot. We haven't released like the marketplace yet, the packs yet, so I think adoption is coming, it's just the beginning. We have our ambassador coming next week, Monday. I cannot tell you who he is yet, but he's something he's somebody huge, it's a shame I cannot say stuff, damn it, but he's somebody huge, from the UK, somebody from the UK, might be Portuguese, might not, but somebody from the UK plays in the UK. This is all I can say. Somebody big. So yeah, I mean, stuff is coming. I'm super excited with the project myself, honestly. My job here is basically to build, these tokenomics, like how the token is used, help with the smart contracts, help with all that stuff, right? It's what I like to do. And yeah, if you have like a few, minutes just to give you overview of who I am. I think I have a slide here. Yeah, who's Pedro? Boom, there we go. So some of the stuff that I've built, because I don't know. I added Catholic here. Cool. So some of the universities where I've spoken and taught, Católica, Nova, through summer course at Nova, Huddersfield Research Assistant paper, University of Huddersfield, also guest speaker. I have a paper with people from there as well. I also wrote for a bunch of news media, Cointelegraph, CoinDesk. I'm a researcher at Quantum Economics. I have over 1,500 articles published on the blockchain. So I have a bunch of pieces spread across the web. I also built some different projects. Bition, the first ICO in Portugal, didn't raise much at the time, 40 Ethereum. wasn't that much. Now it's okay. But at the time, 2017, it wasn't that much money. But we tried our best at the time. We built a project anyways, and it got some adoption. It was for recruitment. Crypto Nerds is this academy that you can see here. We have a free newsletter. So if you go to CN Daily Substack, you can access our free newsletter. It's free. Basically, we do it like 2-3 times a week. Market analysis, basically news, stuff like that. What's going on, basically. And yeah, and we have a full-on fledged academy. You can see here. I'll show you the models in a second. Crypto Cafe, the podcast that Pedro spoke of. Thank you, Pedro. Current projects is Real Fever, basically. Crypto Nerds. It's this academy. I still do it, right? I still have content. I still have students, but I don't spend that much time now. The newsletter, Crypto Cafe and Collect Yield, right? The boring and learning protocol that we build. I always forget about that one. And yeah, this is basically me. I do a lot of different things. I had a past life before blockchain. I was doing corporate ERP stuff, boring now that I think about it, to be honest. But I was implementing ERP systems, technology stuff. It was fun. And then 2016, I found Bitcoin, and then I was like, all right, I need to change my life, and I did. I was like, I don't care about anything else. Now Bitcoin is the future. And I stopped working with this and moved on to Bitcoin and blockchain stuff and Ethereum and crypto, and I just build, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I want to do for the next 40 years probably until I retire. And I hope I know I spoke too fast. I'm really sorry about that, guys. I really apologize. I try not to do it as now as often, but sometimes it is what it is. There was just so much content that I wanted to pass on that I just had to do it. I apologize. I know that I have so many questions. Oh my God, this is insane.
That was great, Pedro. And since we have the recording, people can rewatch it again, so it will be fine. That's very, very good.
Answer as much as possible. Boom.
Yeah, okay, there's a question in the chat which is an interesting one that I would actually like to take it myself and then ask for your opinion or Adam's opinion, if you will. So I'm going to read it out aloud. Can we expect video content platforms like YouTube, Vimeo, TikTok, as well as others, to start adding a buy NFT for the content, or NFTs are always going to be something marginal for big content companies because of the business model? So this is a very interesting one, and there's quite a few things here at play. So first, as a content creator, you want audience, right? So unless you put together the incentives, or you're actually marketing or giving out your content to a captive audience, why would you turn it into an NFT? Which is the first question. The second question is, you need distribution. So if you need distribution, then you need to go through usually one of these platforms, be it YouTube, Vimeo, TikTok, Patreon, whatever it is. It does not matter. But if you need amplification for your fan base, you need to go through one of these platforms, one or more, usually more, one or more of these platforms. This is all very nice, but NFTs actually come from the original creator of the content. And I would say that it'll be up to this person to actually choose if they want to have an NFT created or not. And if they do, then how that gets distributed and under which circumstances, that's another conversation. So it's actually quite a few things put together here. Nobody knows exactly how it's going to turn out. But again, I look at it very much as in terms of incentives and who are the stakeholders that you want to have involved in this ecosystem, and how is it going to play out. But I'd love to get your opinion on this, guys, Pedro or Adam or George.
Pedro, I'd just like to add the question for Pedro Febrero on top of yours. That is, Pedro asked, would you like to partner with? And you guys in Real Fever, are you gonna try to focus on other crypto companies or other companies that are not that connected to the crypto world at the moment?
That's a good question. I mean, we're like, basically what we're doing is looking into the broad spectrum of sport and esports, right? So anything that's related to sports or esports, we want to create NFTs of that, right? We have our way of doing things, and we'll see, like you'll see soon with the NFTs that we create, how they look, right? I mean, we have, if you go like in the website, sorry, I completely forgot, but if you go to the website, here there should be, yeah, there's a video of like, you know, how it's going to look basically, if you can watch it later. But our broad spectrum is sport and esports basically. And there was a question that I think is related to what you were also saying, George, which is for example, the socios with the fun tokens. That's not really our business model. We don't think that fun tokens are very useful, to be honest. We want clubs to build something like NFTs, right? Some collectibles, something that they can use at apps and stuff like that, right? The tokens, they could be interesting like for the club to add revenue, but we think the NFTs are really where the life changing technology is, to be honest. It's not really the fungible tokens, right? You can create the Benfica token, Real Madrid token. I mean, yeah, sure, but yeah, it's okay. It's just a means of payment, something, or it can give you access or discount. This is cool, right? I'm not saying it's not cool. It's cool, but we want to go one extra level above. We want to add more abstraction, more layers of complexity, because it's pretty. I think it's way more interesting, to be honest, to have something that, you know, represents something. Because look, you could with NFTs you can also have that world, right? You can have the fun tokens, but with NFTs, right? I'm going to give you an example. The guy that he built with me the collective protocol. Now he was working with a company building NFTs, and one of the things that he's doing now is pretty cool. He's building NFTs in another protocol here, but the cool thing is that you can redeem NFTs in the real world and they disappear, right? Which is literally like what a fun token could be used for, like discount or stuff, right? But that can be an NFT as well. So NFTs, as I say, they can be also fungible, but they have the property of being non-fungible as well. So it's like an extra layer above, I think. Some question. Okay, Binance Smart Chain again. Binance Smart Chain because cheaper, right? Because it's decentralized, whatever people think it's not, it is. You can run a node, we run nodes as well. So, I mean, you can run a node if you want. It's difficult, but that's a good thing, in my understanding, of course, because we don't want like everybody to run nodes. We want people who are good at it to run nodes and who can have the good hardware to run nodes, because it's a job, right? It's a real job. So that's what Binance aimed for, Binance Smart Chain aimed for, and I think they did a good job. We like the network. It fell sometimes, sure, but most of the time is up. It has a nice uptime, so why not? We can use another network in the future. I'm looking actually into Near. The problem is that they didn't have a full-on EVM compatibility. They have now with a project. Still studying it. Not sure if it's great. So yeah, we'll see. But Binance Smart Chains fully compatibility with the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine. That's our goal, because everything will be built. We believe in Ethereum virtual machine or compatible with it. So as long as it's compatible, we really don't care what the blockchain is. It can be any. It can be Polygon, but Polygon had admin keys. We don't like admin keys, so we were like, okay, now. Binance Smart Chain was okay. I think it was a good choice. My questions. Okay.
May I just add one point? Is all the projects we've talked today, even the 3 on system, are on Binance Smart Chain. It's where you'll see.
Yeah, I cannot understand because I'm not. I think the connection is not that good. So if you can write the question, George, that would be great, because I can't really understand. But there's some questions here that I would like to answer. Let me just. Yeah, there we go.
Hello, can I ask a question?
A lot of more projects being launched there because of its characteristics.
Yeah, George, I'm not sure what you're asking, mate. Sorry, if you could write it, that would be perfect, because I can't hear. And I understand you're trying to ask a question, but I cannot understand what the question is.
Write it up, George. In the meantime,
write it up.
Let's take Jose Augusto's question.
Okay, let me answer. Yeah. What if Socios and the Real Fever sell the same NFT? Okay, that's an awesome question. They can't, because we have the rights. We did. Somebody. I'm not gonna say we did it. Somebody tried something very cool, which is.
I would like to elaborate on my question.
Oh, okay, sure. Apologies.
Okay. I'm old school, So what I think is the best thing of the digital assets is that they are fungible. I mean, we can exchange them one for another. We can copy forever on the web and on the internet. That's why digital is so cool. Related to the real world, right? So my question is, if I change a pixel in an image, the hash of the image is different, and I can sell it as a different NFT. but
Sure.
the image is exactly the same as I
It's not the same.
see it, right?
It's not the
No,
same.
for me it's the same.
But it's
Only
not.
with the microscope can I see the
It doesn't.
difference,
It doesn't
right?
have a. It doesn't have a.
Well,
Try to do it. Like I don't.
just let me finish,
No,
please.
no,
Then
but-
you
okay.
reply one and for all, please.
Okay. Okay.
The other question is, what if I mint another token on another chain, on a different chain, on a different blockchain for the same EPFS address? You see,
can't.
I'm having a different NFT for exactly the same thing. No, how do you solve that? And that's what lead me to the question: what if Socios.com and Real Fever sell this a different NFT for the same Ronaldo clip goal?
They can.
So you'll be selling this. They
No, they
can
can't.
because
Look,
you have because you
we
have the
right?
rights. So having the rights is just something an attorney, a lawyer sings on a paper. I don't see why the NFT is different. You just have the rights. That's what classic technology has been done in all these years. Thank you.
No. I mean, you have the rights, and that's the point, right? I mean, but you can transfer it digital. I'm not going to argue for it. Like, who doesn't like it? I don't care. Don't buy it, right? It's like you don't have to buy it, right? You can, if you don't like it or don't understand it, like Satoshi said, I don't have time to explain it. So really, I don't. It's like if you don't see the value in it, just don't participate. That's the awesome thing of decentralization and open technology, right? But it has value because you cannot copy. It's not the same thing. Like, let me finish. Thank you. It's not the same thing as you said. You change a pixel, it's not the same hash. It's not the same thing. You can try to copy it, do it. Like I actually want you to do it. I actually want you to copy one NFT and sell it if you can, because you won't be able to do it. That's my point. If you copy an NFT from NBA Top Shot, try to sell it at OpenSea. You can't. If you try to copy something that has property rights, you can do it. If you copy something that doesn't have property rights but it belongs to somebody else, and the person is the owner, and if they find out, you're also screwed. So I mean, it's enforceable, right? So that's my point. I mean, if scarcity exists in the real world, you can actually, and we know that scarcity exists with fungibility. You can also enforce it with non-fungibility, right? It's just a matter of who finds it valuable and who doesn't find it valuable, right? And that's a matter of subjectivity, and really cannot argue about subjectivity because some people will never like it, some people will always love it, right? There's obviously a middle ground, but the point is you cannot copy it. They're not the same thing. So I mean, I think the case is literally closed because when people argue you can copy it, you cannot copy it, you can change it, but then you cannot sell it because it's not the same thing, it's not the same value. I mean, try to copy the Mona Lisa and sell it on the open marketplace. Are you going to sell it for the same price as the Mona Lisa? No, it's the same thing, right? But people buy it for different prices because it's not the same thing. You have the ownership, you have the proof of ownership and all that stuff, and this is one of the things that gives it value. It's not the main thing, but it is one of the things, like being the original creator, being the proprietor, whatever, right? That also gives it value, and you can prove, like, if Ronaldo owns something and he sells that something, it's not going to be worth the same that if I own the same something and I sell it, right? Because Ronaldo owns it, right? And he can prove it. And that's the point. All of that is trackable, like with that specific NFT as well. So, I mean, I don't really see the point saying like, we can copy you, it's not the same thing, it's not good. I mean, just don't buy it, right? I mean, people don't have to like the same stuff. But it's an awesome technology. I can guarantee you it's awesome. It's going to take over the world, like whatever. And yeah, it is what it is.
Guys,
Thank you.
Let's move ahead on this one. Adam, any parting words?
Pedro, can I just add one point on top? I think the image and the right. If you just copy the image, you can easily go to an NFT and print screen the image and even use it by yourself. But if you don't have the proof of provenance, you'll never get there. It's like a Louis Vuitton bag.
NFT. It's not the same.
Exactly.
It's not the same. I can copy it, but I don't own it, right? So if I don't own it and I try to sell it, I'm gonna have problems, right? But it's like a DVD, right? It's the same. I don't see why this is such confusion. You try to sell a DVD, you can sell it, but if you get caught, it's illegal, right? So it's the same things applies. Like, there's no difference here, like at all. It's the same thing. It's absolutely the same thing.
Guys, let's go to Adam now. Adam, tell us any final words from your side here.
All right, great discussion, guys. It was lively. I enjoyed it. I think it is great that everyone's passionate about it. Regarding back to the question whether we will actually see a button on YouTube to buy NFT, I personally don't see that happening anytime soon. So like what Pedro previously mentioned, a lot of the time it's about the value, right? It's subjective, right? Depending on whether someone perceived this NFT to have value. And let me give you a really interesting example. A couple of years ago, there was a viral video on the internet. Charlie bit my finger. It was a video of two babies biting fingers of each other. And there was an NFT created by the original poster of the video that sold for, I think, around 800,000 US dollars. So they took the video down on YouTube, they make it into the NFT, and they sold it to the highest bidder. And they actually interviewed the bidder, I think, and the reason why the bidder actually bought it because he just wanted to own a piece of internet history. To him, the value of owning NFT that perhaps made him laugh, maybe perhaps helped him go through difficult times. He decided to purchase the rights and bought it for like $750. $1,000. So at the end of the day, I do believe that it's really subjective. The value really comes to the perceivement of the person. It's like art, right? And that's how that's my personal opinion to it. Of course, Pedro will be perhaps more better suited to answer this question because his project is in the NFT space. But yeah, really, it's about being perceived as valuable. There is a guy in Singapore that bought a NFT from Beeple for $69 million. Bought the digital asset, for 69. He's a guy in Singapore. I saw him on the street once in town.
Nice.
And it's absolutely insane. And I think there was an interview. There were a lot of interviews about him, right? Why did you purchase a artwork, a digital artwork, lines of codes for $69 million, right? What can you do with $69 million? I think you can buy an island somewhere in the world. And he said basically he just wanted to make history, right? So to him, that's worth that, to own such a piece of art, to support a creator that he likes, and to also make history. He's willing to fork out the money and own that NFT token. So I do believe there's value when the NFT is positioned correctly, or sometimes when it comes to utility like Real Fever, there are people who will see value in owning NFTs to be able to use it in the app. Maybe they're in the ecosystem, and that's why maybe they perceive it to be valuable to purchase it. And I think that that's going to be it for a couple of, at least for the next coming years. But you never know when the price goes down and there's increased demand for NFTs and to own YouTube videos or the rights for YouTube videos of each content creator. Someday it's possible that you might see, a buy NFT button on YouTube, on TikTok. It could happen. It takes a while to get there. There must be sufficient demand. There must be sufficient infrastructure. But with the world of crypto, you will never know. So yeah, I'll pass it back to Pedro.
Yeah, I just want to answer two questions from Vani because I think they're very, very good. And one is Vani asking about, for example, the goal of Cristiano being. Let me just stop sharing my screen. I don't think I can. I need to share it. But asking about, for example, the goal of Ronaldo being valuable because the player is also good, right? In our case, yes, of course, the better the player, obviously the higher the probability the moment is more valuable, but it's also about the rarity, right? So for example, basic moments or less rare moments have more quantity, have more units, right? The rarest it is, the less quantity it exists, right? Until there's like one of one, right? Exactly. But of course, Ronaldo, for example, we wanted to make one of one, right? Because as you said, it's the best player, right? So we of course we picked the best players for the unique, the rarest moments. Yeah. So there's a logic in there. Of course, we wouldn't put the Ronaldo as a basic goal, for example. That actually would be funny, but no, we didn't do that. And the other one, yes, exactly, about the meme culture. And I agree, it's increasing in value. Dodge, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. It is what it is, right? It's how culture is going to, is how it is changing. I'm not making any judgment, just stating how it is, right? And honestly, I think that it's very difficult for me to see a future without this, because I cannot say with certainty, nobody can, of course, but with a high degree of probability, I can say that I see loads of companies adopting this for various, industries completely outside the gaming industry. And I think this is going to be a very useful tool. NFTs are going to be a very useful tool. DeFi is going to be a very useful tool. We're going to help loads of people with these types of projects because as like George said before, you have no KSC, you can participate, it's open source. As Adam said, you don't, for example, in subs, you don't have a minimum requirement. You can just like go for it if you like it, $1, and you're participating, you're part of a community. They can help you building projects. You have all these types of projects that are trying to help each other, trying to help people, of course, gaining value somehow, but that's like, business, that's logical. But it's growing a lot, and all these technologies, they're definitely going to dominate the world in 10, 20 years. I don't see a world without blockchain, DeFi, without NFTs. I think it's crazy to think of a world without it, because it brings so much value that's just insane. And just a tip, when you think about projects and when you basically look at opportunity, and again, none of what I'm saying now is financial advisement at all in any way, just a personal opinion. When was the best time to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum? Think of it. It was when it had the least liquidity, the least participants, when everything was centralized in one guy, Satoshi. So think of like, new projects, new technologies as like something like this, right? When it's the best time to buy, it's probably when it's the worst time to invest, right? Because there are different concepts, right? And apply that to everything else. And I think, yeah, you'll be successful in the future, I think. Yeah,
Great.
this is it.
Great stuff. And we're into an hour and a half of the session today, and I think
our traditional time, Pedro. We should adjust it. It's our traditional timing. We should adjust it for the next session.
I think the note was very positive and very interesting for us to finish here and save a little bit for next week. We hope to see you there as well. Thanking our most distinguished guests for a very nice session, very participated and very debated, which is always nice. Pedro, thank you very much. Hope to see you around. Adam, it was great to have you again. Come back whenever you want to. And thanks for staying up late and putting up with us. To all of you guys, thanks a lot. Have a great week and see you back next week.